All right, guys, welcome back to my next video as I document my process of remotely investing in St. Louis as somebody who is currently living in Portland, Oregon. My name's Justin. This is PDX Properties. This is the brand that I created as I document my process completely remotely investing in St. Louis. In my last video, I was discussing my criteria for things that I look for on Zillow and Realtor.com in order to determine what I want to consider putting an offer in on as far as my rental properties go and the things that I was looking for. I thought logically, as I document this process, it would also make sense to make a video where I show you guys some of the red flags and hidden things that properties have in their descriptions on Zillow and Realtor.com that basically are criteria for what I would pass on. So in the last video, I showed you guys what I would look for. In this video, I'm going to show you guys what I look for to disqualify a property. So like I've said before, I have a specific criteria of things I look for, and then when I am browsing through Zillow and Realtor.com at these properties that get listed out there in St. Louis, there's things that I also look for to avoid. That's just going to completely save me the time, the money, and things that I just don't want to deal with as a remote investor. So as I go through these, I have 3 different examples of listings that are active right now on the market, and I'll put those up on the screen so you guys can see. And then I have them also on my phone as well. So I'm just going to read off of this and then we'll just walk through it. So when it comes to Zillow and Realtor.com, real estate agents like to put little key messages in their descriptions of properties that are basically telltale signs of this property is either going to need a lot of work, there's some problems with this property, there's something that they don't want to obviously come off right off the bat and just say that this property is going to need a ton of work. So they use softer words within their descriptions in order to, I don't want to say deceive people, but in a way try to basically slide the problems under the rug. So these are some things in terms of red flags that I look for when looking as a remote investor in another state for properties that I basically just don't want to go for. So we're just going to go one by one. I have 3 here, and then we will discuss some of the things that I look for. So for this first property, I will show it to you guys right here, and then I will also put it on the screen right now just so you guys can see. On the outside, it looks great. The price is $115,000. It fits my criteria of a 3-bedroom, 1-bath. You know, everything looks good. I'm looking through it here. The interior looks clean, and it just looks like a pretty decent property from the inside. The biggest red flag that I see with this property is actually if you scroll down to the property history right here within Realtor.com. The biggest red flag that I'm going to see for me is the taxes. So the taxes every single year since 2020 have gone from $1,100 all the way up to $1,800. So that's pretty insane. My criteria is I'm trying to stick with property taxes being anywhere from 12 to 13, possibly 1,400 if the price of the home is right. But the taxes alone will just eat into your cash flow. And so that's basically money that you're just throwing away. It's not going to you. It's not going to pay down the debt. It's not doing any of that. So even though this property looks great, the interior looks clean, and the price is fairly decent at $115, the property taxes is just too high. And that's why I would pass on this deal. So that's just something to keep in mind all the time for any deals that you're looking for. Always checking the property taxes, because a home may look great, but if the property taxes are too high, then you're going to have problems basically making any money off that property if you're using it as a rental. For this next property I have here, I will show you guys looking at it right off my phone, and I will also put it on the screen right now just so you guys can take a better look at it. It looks good. It's a lower price point, so it's at $110,000. Once again, it's a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, so something that I would consider when it comes to rental properties out in that area. But this one has a couple different red flags. So number 1, I'm looking at the description here. It has been on the market for 103 days. So that's can be a good or The time on market isn't the biggest deal breaker. Sometimes things just get overlooked and they just end up on the market. Or there's a realtor that's maybe dragging their feet and they're just not really marketing it too well. It could be potentially a good property. But the fact that it's been on the property for 103 days at that price point is a red flag to me. So usually properties at this price point for a 3-bedroom out in this area, from the research I've done, they're not sitting on the market very long, maybe a couple weeks, a month at most. The biggest red flag also that I'm seeing on this potential deal is the fact that they only have one picture. So you guys can see there in the bottom right here, this property only has one picture as their listing. So if I look at the description here, it's talking about in the description right here, it says, please do not disturb tenants. So that means that the listing agent and the property owner, whoever owns the home, don't have any current pictures of the property. This is something that if I wanted to look into further, I would have to reach out to the listing agent, ask them if they have any pictures, ask them the condition, ask all these questions. And the fact that it's at this price point, it's been on the market this many days, it's just something that I don't want to deal with. It's going to be a waste of time. And to be honest with you, from my experience, I've reached out to a couple different listing agents about properties that are similar to this. They've been on the market for a while. They have tenants currently. It just never ends well. So something that I'm looking for when I am trying to find properties is vacant. I would prefer a vacant property because that means that we can actually get in there right off the bat and see exactly the condition of the property. But I would consider tenants if it's right and it has more pictures and they have a better understanding of what the actual interior of the property is looking like. So for those reasons alone, that is why I would pass on this property. So from the first one that we just looked at, the property taxes were too high. For this one, the price is okay, but the days on market is another thing I wanted to look at. That's a red flag. And then also the fact that it has tenants in there already is another red flag. And another thing is the fact that they only have one picture is not a good sign for this property. And then finally, the last property that I want to show you is right here. It looks good on the outside, but this one has a couple different things. So I'll put it on the screen right now just so you guys can see it in a better view. But this one has a couple different things that's going on with it. So it has pictures. It shows the interior of the property and everything looks fairly decent. It's a little bit dirty in there just from the fact that I'm not too sure. They might be currently renovating some things. But it is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, which is more desirable than a 3-bedroom, 1-bath. So that could justify a higher price point at $119,000. But there's a couple different things that with this one that the other ones didn't have. So it's a higher price point, which means that my cash flow, if I were to put 20% down, is already going to be less right off the bat. But if you look at the property description here, it has some red flag words that I look for. So I'll put the description on the screen just so you guys can see it. But the red flag words that I look for are TLC. Anytime a real estate agent puts TLC in their property description, tender love and care, that basically means that it needs a lot of work. They're using softer words to try to sweep the problem under the rug, like I said before, and try to make you basically think that it needs less work than it actually does. So TLC is something that if I ever see it, I just immediately think red flag. Another thing is being sold as is with no repairs or warranties. This is basically a common phrase that I see, being sold as is with no repairs or warranties. That means that there are problems that the seller is most likely aware of that they are just not willing to do themselves. So it's good to go into this knowing that if you were to look further into this, you can probably expect problems, even though they may not be saying them right off the bat. So it's on you to do the due diligence at that point to figure out what it is and if you have a budget that you're willing to spend to get this property repaired. And on top of that, just to add on to it from the last listing, this property's been on the market for 102 days. So even with all these pictures and the description talking about being sold as is, it's also been on the market a very long time, which means that at some point somebody has probably reached out about this and has passed on it. And so when it comes to real estate, you know, everybody's going to probably run into the same problems as an investor if you're reaching out to on properties. So it's really important that you guys do your due diligence with these properties when you're looking. And that's just something that I'm personally doing. So with these three very quick examples, these are all live on the market right now that as I'm making this video. So these are all active. These aren't things that I'm pulling from past months or anything like that. And these properties are just filtered every single day. Realtor.com and Zillow update their listings, and you just see these red flags over and over. So it's important to just keep these in mind as you're looking through Zillow and Realtor.com. And then just a couple other things here I have as notes that I wanted to talk about for other keywords to look for. Investor special. That basically means that this property is going to need a bunch of work. I avoid that. As is sale. You know, once again, motivated seller, price to sell. It basically means that it could either mean that the seller, it really just wants to get rid of the property, or there's some problems that the seller is not wanting to fix, and so they're just trying to get rid of the property as soon as possible. And then another big one that I would say is no showings until an offer accepted. Basically, the real estate agent is saying, until you actually give us an offer and show us that you want to buy the home, we're not even going to show you the inside of the home. That's a red flag, because why do you not want to show the home if you have it listed on the market? So, you know, if they ever have that, I don't even look at it, because it just means that there's going to be problems. And then the final one would be cash only. If you ever see cash only in the description, that means that there is definitely problems with the property. So hopefully this was helpful for some of you. My last video, I discussed the criteria for the things that I want to look for in properties, things that I'm looking for as a good sign. For this video, I just logically wanted to make a very quick video on things that would disqualify a property completely. So things that would just make me scroll right on by, don't even want to consider it, don't want to waste time on it, don't even want to talk to my realtor about it. And as you guys can see, you know, that's just a few things. I probably have missed 100 other things that could potentially cause a deal to be disqualified. But these are some of the big things right off the bat that it's very easy for anybody to look through: the taxes, the days on market, and just looking at the description for keywords. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. More videos to come as I document my process, just buying property out of state. Once again, my name is Justin. This is PDX Properties, and we'll see you in the next one.